In Daredevil, Born Again, Muse only reenacted an old villain plot that Marvel Television handled far more well in the original Daredevil series on Netflix. Given its R rating, Daredevil, Born Again was the ideal setting for introducing Muse, the most brutal and startling villain ever shown in the MCU. Although Muse's story was further extended in Daredevil, Born Again Episode 7, Art for Art's Sake, as portrayed by Hunter Dewin, Marvel Studios had the opportunity to go much farther, as was the case with the original Daredevil series. In Marvel Comics, Muse was unidentified. However, he was identified as Bastion Cooper in Daredevil, Born Again. In the role of Muse, Hunter Dewin gave a powerful performance, particularly when he was dressed as the artist-turned-serial killer. By abducting at least 60 victims and using their blood as paint for his graffiti, Muse demonstrated that he was a terrifying and powerful danger. Though Muse is a genuinely terrible antagonist in Born Again, the original Daredevil series on Netflix did a much better job at telling one part of his story. When Hunter Dewin first appeared as Muse without his mask in Optics, the second episode of Daredevil, Born Again, he went to Heather Glenn to ask for expert assistance. This paid off in Daredevil, Born Again Episode 7, as Bastion Cooper was seen with Glenn in therapy and mentioned how much he had been inspired by Matt Murdock's new love interest. Cooper implies that Glenn's assistance allowed him to feel at ease carrying out his duties as Muse, and he appeared to be enamored with her, as seen by the several times he painted her portrait in his underground hideout. The history of Benjamin Poindexter in Daredevil Season 3 was evocative of this development in Muse's plot. The antagonist, played by Wilson Bethel, was an FBI agent who had spent a significant portion of his life in therapy following his childhood murder of his baseball instructor. Poindexter developed a strong relationship with his therapist, Eileen Mercer, over the years, and her death was a significant turning point. Poindexter's decision to discard her cassettes was even more significant. Both of these villains were momentarily made more human by seeing them in treatment, but Daredevil did it better. In Daredevil Season 3, Wilson Bethel's character Benjamin Poindexter had a lot more development, particularly in Episode 5, The Perfect Game. Wilson Fisk's study of Poindexter's data during this episode was pictured as Kingpin actually infiltrating the sharpshooter's memory. In therapy, Fisk witnessed Poindexter use his flawless aim, murder his baseball coach, then develop empathy to calm his psychopathic tendencies. Fisk discovered Julie Barnes at this time as well, and he used her to trick Poindexter into turning into Bullseye. The origin of Benjamin Poindexter was thoroughly examined in a single Daredevil Season 3 episode. This made it far more deliberate, well thought out, and emotionally impactful than the therapy plot of Daredevil, Born Again. After complaining about his parents enrolling him in Taekwondo courses and describing how skilled he is as a fighter, Bastion Cooper's past was explored, and he dressed as Muse to assault Heather Glenn. The opportunity to make Muse as formidable a villain as Bullseye was sadly lost by Marvel Studios. A greater focus on Muse's past in Daredevil, Born Again would have been wonderful. Similar to Bullseye in Daredevil Season 3, he would have been an even greater threat in Daredevil, Born Again if he had described his early years, his tense relationship with his parents, and the start of his career as a serial killer. But now that he's dead, we can't help but think that Muse was drastically underdeveloped, and that Marvel Studios would have been better off keeping him more true to his Marvel Comics counterpart. When Muse first appeared in Marvel Comics Daredevil Volume 5, Number 11, he was a far more enigmatic and eerie antagonist. More significant than providing him with a shallow and unsatisfactory past as a conceited adolescent is the fact that his identity, background, and goals are still entirely unknown. Perhaps it would have been a wiser move on the part of Marvel Studios to conceal Muse's true identity in Daredevil, Born Again, making him Daredevil's most terrifying foe to date. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to my channel for more videos.